What's up, everybody? It's your girl KT,
And this is Gabby.
and this is Building Our Power. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about how Black Lives Matter slash nonprofit quote unquote activists are capitalizing off the death of black people. So, currently, more recently, Samir Rice, the mother of Tamir Rice, and Lisa Simpson, the mother of Richard Risher, have recently released a statement criticizing activists, quote unquote, and the Black Lives Matter global network for capitalizing on their children's deaths. Basically, they sent them an open letter, and the main point of the open letter was that they needed to step down, stand back, and stop monopolizing and capitalizing off of their fight for justice and human rights. Now, this comes after the fact that Tamika Mallory was actually on. She was on with Lil Baby. If you guys saw that on the Grammys, that's kind of what made this come about. So anyway, in their open letter, they talked a little bit about what they are requesting or what their demands would really be. So again, they want them to step down from the spotlight, don't do interviews, stop selling T-shirts, stop holding press conferences and events in the name of their loved ones. They want Black Lives Matter Los Angeles to pay them, which they definitely should. Apparently, they had a press conference for the 49-day encampment when Richard Risher, so Lisa Simpson's son, first got killed, and they had campaigned to raise $5,000 for her son's funeral, and Lisa Simpson never got any of that money at all. So then they went on and they requested financial assistance for the Tamir Rice Foundation, housing funds for Lisa Simpson, who is actually homeless right now due to the fact of this. She's living in hotels with her children and she needs funds for housing. So definitely we'll make sure to add their information in the comments below. But we want to kind of talk about how this is basically something that's going to continue to happen, especially in capitalism. So, Gabby, if you want to add to it, what do you currently think about all of this?
I first want to list some of the names that were called out. Again, it was Tamika Mallory, Shaun King, he's been roasted for how many years now? About to be like 10 years. People been calling him out. He still has a platform. Benjamin Crump, the lawyer for all killed black people for some reason. Lee Merritt, Patrice Cullors, Melina Abdullah, and the entire Black Lives Matter global network. So, obviously, especially last year, Black Lives Matter really showed they whole tail because they really capitalized off George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and they finally got that corporate support, that governmental support. Because remember, Black Lives Matter was created during the Obama administration, and during that time, that's when people were too afraid to say it. Obama would have never said Black Lives Matter, which is crazy. So this was the time when it was finally like all the brands were like, okay, we think it's time. We can put the hashtag Black Lives Matter, and they raised $90 million. Was it?
Something like that.
Something like that, plus 90 million plus, because they probably ain't, saying everything. But definitely, and this is when you really started to see all the nastiness, like especially like with Breonna Taylor. It wasn't just them, but just people everywhere just making light of her death, making memes, and every day was just, today's the day to arrest the cops. And it was like people were only doing it to get engagement. And then we just started to look at Black Lives Matter and be like, wait, y'all have been out here since the Obama administration. What exactly have y'all done? You're getting book deals. You're getting on TV. You're meeting with the president, telling folks to vote for Biden. But has anything changed? And even then, even if you can't guarantee, obviously, that cops are going to go to jail, how are you supporting these families? Where is this money coming from? I think when regular people were donating to Black Lives Matter, they figured that y'all would actually be doing something to help change the material conditions of black people. Not the local ones, because the local ones are doing stuff. But the global network, there's no reason why y'all get $90 million during this pandemic and are not dispersing that money out. What are you doing with it?
I wouldn't mind. This is a thought, but I really wouldn't mind seeing what these quote unquote activists, what their houses look like,
Yeah.
what their cars look like, what school does their children go to. I wouldn't mind seeing that because that would be a clear indication that these people are legitimately, like we already know they are, but if their cars, their houses, if they are living the high life, when Lisa Simpson is out here and she's freaking homeless, like that's got to tell you something. And I don't know, it just makes me think of like how it kind of is here in Memphis. Like even here in Memphis, majority of the Black Lives Matter chapter, a lot of the times it's just drama that you're just watching on Facebook Lives or stuff like that. Like I remember me and Gabby during the summer we went to a protest, and then we just sat back after that and we were just like, what are they even doing? Like Memphis police are ramping up. We've got even more Memphis police than we did when they first started. And like it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So I don't know. I don't really know. Like, what do you think we should really do about it?
Well, let's go back to
Or
what the problem is, because when you think about this, I think about my life. Obviously, I've never had anybody in my life that was killed by a cop, but if I wake up one day and I get a phone call that one of my close family members was killed by a cop, okay, I'm traumatized. And then I pull up my email and I have thousands of emails from lawyers, from people wanting interviews, from Shaun King, from Black Lives Matter organization, from this, from that. And so I get with these people that are saying they're going to help me. They parade me around for all these press conferences, and then a year later, when my story ain't big no more, they on to doing other things. But then you're saying they're still making money and you struggling. Like there's no reason why these mothers or the parents of these children should be in need for anything. They shouldn't be paying for no lawyer. They shouldn't be having to struggle to pay their bills. Like if this is the lane you're gonna be in, obviously y'all ain't trying to do no economic justice. So we just in the criminal justice system lane. Then I would think that a lot of your funds, especially if you're using my child's name to make money, I should get 80% of everything that y'all are marketing, because you're using my pain, the death of my child, my trauma to raise money. You see what I'm saying?
Okay, but here's what it is. This is how they hide behind it. They're hiding behind it with these nonprofits, these 501(c)s and things like that. And basically, what they get to do is they get to rack in all this money, then claim it a loss on their income tax. Then they get a huge, gigantic tax break, which means that more money just goes right back into their pockets. So it's like, I just don't understand. Like, I don't understand that. Like, if you here's my thing. If you create a nonprofit, okay, with the nonprofit, you've got to have a legitimate, like, thing that you're actually doing and what you're helping with people there in the community. I wonder if, like, do you think that these people are starting these nonprofits, like, for good reasons initially, and then they notice, oh, you know what, I can make all this money, and so they just kind of like go off the deep end?
No, because when Black Lives Matter first started, that's when everybody was flocking to Ferguson, and the people there said them folk came and they left. Like they're not in. You see, that's what I'm saying. Like I don't care about nonprofits or whatever. It shouldn't be a nonprofit. Y'all should be collecting money and using that money to actually help the families of the people that's been killed, and work to push legislation to get the police to stop killing. That should be the only focus. I should not see you over here cheesing with little dresses on the Oscars, on the Grammys, because now it's all about you. And I think about like the the comparison between now and back in the 60s. Obviously, everybody in the 60s was not all for the cause. There was grifters then. There was people capitalizing on it then, just like it is now. But some people were really about it. And some people literally dedicated their life to it and were not about getting the clout. And I think the difference is now that it's so much easier to get clout. Back in the 60s, before social media, you literally had to organize hundreds of people and to plan and orchestrate demonstrations and make sure that the press was there and make sure y'all had safety plan. Like, it had to be organized. Now, literally, all I have to do is show up at some traumatic event with the biggest a bullhorn with the loudest voice, with the most flashiest clothes, get in front of Fox 13 and make my case, and I could be retweeted and automatically become an activist. And that's what pushes us, social media clout. This should not be this is not about celebrity. This is not about individuals. That's probably how it had to be in the 60s because that's the way that the media worked back then. Now there's no reason to have any type of hierarchies, none. And that's what's fueling so many people. They want to be seen, they want to be retweeted, they want to be heard. You should not be making money off of this. If anything, it should be to sustain you, but not you making profit. Because now you're literally profiting off of the death of people, which is my problem with nonprofits.
So that actually reminds me, Gabby, of a few people that we've either watched on TV or on YouTube, and someone who is here at the house, or not at the house, but like in our city.
The house.
It reminds me that people can be bought and sold for money. At the end of the day, people can be bought and sold for money. You may have you may have the best morals in the world. But the truth of the matter is, when you're living in capitalism, what at what dollar amount can you be bought for? That's how it is with capitalism all the time, no matter what. Think about like how people have to live their everyday lives for their job. Are you willing to sacrifice standing on your feet all day, which is something you don't want to do, for some money? Yeah, absolutely you are. Are you willing to go on to OnlyFans if you don't want to show your body and sacrifice that moral for money so that you can pay your bills? Absolutely, you're going to do that. And that's what capitalism makes us do. It makes you take your morals and values and they just go out the window.
Yeah.
They literally just go out the window.
We know that firsthand experience. Somebody that we know literally was out here in the streets, protesting, abolish the cops.
Abolish the
All
cops.
cops are bad. Literally getting paid by Bloomberg. What in the world? Taking money from a literal racist who was Mr. Stop and Frisk, Mr. Gentrification, Mr. Rucker's Island. What in the world?
And what do they do now? They make a joke of it. Mm-hmm. That's what's even worse, I feel like. Like, it's one thing to trade your morals and values for some money because you need to pay your bills. It's another thing to come back and be like, I may have oppressed some people. It's fucked up. It's fucked up.
It is. And as long as we're in this system, that's what we're going to have to deal with because, I mean, it's just terrible.
That's the only way you can get up. That's like we talk about. That's the next corporate ladder.
Yeah.
You know.
And the nonprofit has become another way to just, like you said, go up. But I personally, for my own sake now, I don't give to any nonprofits.
Nope.
None, because they will not be in business if the problem gets solved. Like if somebody's nonprofit they literally make money because they give toiletries to the homeless. If one day there's no homeless, they have no job. Right. So is it in their incentive to get rid of the homeless because because then they ain't gonna have $100,000 in their salary. No, I do not give my money to nonprofit. I give my money to individual people or to people that's just doing it at the kindness of their heart or whatever. Like we put that community fridge. The community fridge is ran by individuals and organizations that are not nonprofits. All they do is out the kindness of their heart, and all the money is going to filling up them fridges or going to them to pay for their gas or whatever. So I would never ever give to that. And I think we need to, as people, communists or whatever, totally deprogram from that nonprofit organization. If you're doing mutual aid, why the heck do you need a nonprofit? If you're trying to do something for the people in your community, you do not need a nonprofit. Just go out there and do it. You trying to be a nonprofit to make some money.
That's what a business is.
Literally. But it's called a nonprofit, but you're literally making it's a nonprofit, yeah. There's no profit to make, you just keep all the money. You see what I'm saying?
Y'all have to think about think about nonprofit hospitals. That's a really good example. Like, how do you think all these people are getting paid at these nonprofit hospitals? It's because that debt that you may accrue with them that you could potentially write off, that gets written off with taxes with the government. And so guess what? That just makes them even more money. They can navigate and they can live and they can have their jobs and things like that because it's a nonprofit and because they can write it off. Like, that's whenever we say nonprofit, we just need to stop saying nonprofit. We need to call it a business because ultimately that's what it is. Literally. It's a business model in capitalism, and that's what happens.
Right. And one more thing, let's talk about the gaslighting by Shaun King and what's that lady from the Melina Abdullah from the Black Lives Matter Los Angeles. So they pretty much been saying these women are liars. Shaun King had the balls to say, well, you know, she's dealing with the racist. I understand because when you're dealing in a racist society, it's normal for you to have hesitations or to be distrustful. Like, really on some just terrible stuff. Like, there ain't been 50 billion articles about his scam and tell. But yeah, so they're really trying to shift the narrative. And my thing is, what audience are they appealing to? They're appealing to white people. They trying to, especially Shaun King. Shaun King is trying to assure the white liberals, hey, it's okay. I still got this. You know, she just dealing with that little racism thing. But it's all right. We're going to get everything together. And then that Abdullah lady is over there trying to appeal to black people by saying, anytime there's some disruption in an organization, it's because somebody being paid by the state or somebody's being manipulated by the state. No, actually, these folks on point. Why aren't you giving money to them? You literally, if it wasn't for, let's think about it. If it wasn't for these dead people, if it wasn't for these dead children, dead men, dead women, they wouldn't have an organization and you wouldn't be able to raise money. So what the heck you talking about? Somebody, they just,
it's they work for the state when Lisa Simpson is literally homeless. She literally can't feed her kids. She literally has to live in a hotel. She's homeless. How is she working for the state? That doesn't make any sense. Use your critical thinking skills that apparently you have.
No, she's doing that. She's doing that to soil in that. Like, I've seen people say, this is COINTELPRO. This is COINTELPRO. These are real grievances. This is the reality. They ain't coming up with nothing. COINTELPRO.
That's a whole nother episode.
But my thing is, y'all own COINTELPRO. That's y'all fault for being selfish and greedy. That's on you. You can't get mad at nobody else. But that's the reality in what we live in. But here's the thing about it. Black Lives Matter is going to be over anyway because the right was already waiting for a reason to be racist as hell. They call every black person Black Lives Matter. They already getting flack from there. They starting to get flack from black people. And that was finna only be the white liberals, which donated most of the money, let's be honest, to them, that's going to keep them afloat. So we're going to see if they're going to be able to play into that and try to still stay afloat. I think they probably will because it's just too much money and power on that side. But as far as people on the ground, I'm glad we're starting to open up our eyes and see that this global network isn't about us. The local ones may be. But yeah, let's go and divest and let's go and actually invest into movements and invest into organizations that are actually about helping the people because it's over with for them.
Maybe not even that. Like I know, like if you live in a bigger city, you could literally just go down the street. I'm sure there's someone who needs some help. Like I'm pretty positive that there's someone going to be out there asking you for money. There's either going to be panhandlers or there's going to be people who are homeless that out there need some detergent, or not detergent, but need soap, need food, need something. Like you can do action and you can make action right now by doing that. You don't have to donate to other places.
Right. And that's the immediate thing. But I do think eventually you need some type of organization or apparatus just so that you can, so it's not just charity.
Yeah.
So that there's actually like we got each other, and from there we're going to educate and then try to organize our power as well. But as far as right now, girl, go outside and give them folks some money, give them some food or something like that. The Black Lives Matter ain't doing none of that. They ain't give us no money when we was struggling with the stimulus checks. They didn't try to give us no vaccine. They didn't try to give us no mask, no nothing. So it's over with for them. And I'm glad anybody that's grifting, anybody that's profiting needs to be deplatformed. That goes for Vash and Hassan. That goes for Xanderthal. That goes for all them folks on YouTube. That go for the folks on Twitter. Everybody. We only need people that's about that life and that's about helping to get us to the next step, not that's trying to fill up their pockets. It's over with. All right. Well, that's been it, guys. We will definitely put a link to that Instagram post in our description, as well as some more mutual aid links that you can donate to. And hit us up on social media, building our PWR on Twitter, Instagram, all those social media platforms, and hit up our YouTube. And you can hit us up individually at KT_does_art and at Gabby's Music. This has been Building Our Power. Thank you for listening. We're out.